How are you? It's Wealth Wednesday. I love this day. I love this topic. I love talking about wealth and finances on Wednesday. Hashtag Wealth Wednesday. It's the best day. Good morning. Good morning. You guys catch me after my workout this morning in all of her glory. So, hi. How are you? I'm Gwen, if you don't know me yet. And I'm literally here on this planet, on this earth, to help women create a life they don't feel they need to take a vacation from. Because that's important. And YOLO, and we only have one life, yeah? So today I want to talk about something that 95% of Americans are not doing. And they probably should be, because 80% of Americans are in debt. And I know this word gets a lot of flack, right? Like no one likes to talk the B word, and it's scary, and they don't want to face it, and they don't want to do it because I've been there. Only 5% of Americans set a budget. All that means is that 5% of Americans know exactly where their money goes to each month. They know their expenses, they know their income, and they have a certain amount of finances dedicated to certain things. And they probably, my thought, is they have an account for some fun, right? Like not everything is live by the books, but they have a budget. Why do you think only 5% of Americans have set a budget if 80% of Americans are in debt? Have some thoughts. I would love it if you shared yours with mine. Let me know if you have a budget or if you've tried a budget before, because my short of a long story is that I went to school for 8 years. So I obviously have some student loan debt. And it is like a second mortgage, right? Anyone here has student loan debt? It's like a second mortgage. And you're like, how the heck am I going to ever pay that off? And it's just, it weighs on your shoulders all the time, right? So I went to school for 8 years, and no one in high school really talked about what it looks like to take out a loan or what it looks like to pay all that money back and how much your monthly payments might look like. Granted, I'm not blaming. It's not someone's fault that no one talked about it, but I do think that the education system is missing this like real world connection, right? If most of us are leaving high school and going off to college, and most of us have to take out loans in order to pay for it, don't you think it would be helpful if in school we had a chance to learn about what taking out loans actually looks like? Now, you may have gone to a school, and I would love to know if you've gone to a school that taught you that, because that is pivotal. Like, we need to change the education system, especially around the role of finances. No one talks about balancing a checkbook anymore. No one does that. We need to talk more real life experiences. So that's one of the reasons I think is we just don't talk about it in school, right? It's not a part of our education. We're not taught what it looks like to take out a loan and how that monthly payment works and interest rates and stuff like that. So I think that is a big reason. Like you just avoid it because you're like, well, I don't know how to do that, and I don't really know much information about it, so I'm not going to do it, right? I didn't want to face what I knew I didn't like. So I didn't create a budget for years because I already knew I was overspending. It was quite obvious to me because we'd get to our bills and be like, it's tight. It's tight. And you're like, where did the money go? You see your paycheck come in, you go out to dinner, you buy the kids this, you go here, you do this. And then you're like, where did all my money go? And so if you're not tracking it on a budget, which is all that B word means, you don't know exactly where your money goes and how much money you have to work with, right? So I avoided a budget for years because I didn't want to face what I already knew was reality. Let me know if that resonates, okay? It's almost like you're just hiding under the desk from it. And I actually didn't even know what budgeting was. I just thought that I would have to have a piece of paper or like in my phone, track every single expense and add up in columns. And it involved an Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, Excel spreadsheets. Like, I don't want to do that, right? That's what I thought budgeting was. But people don't like to talk about money. We don't like to talk about how much we make. We don't like to post how much a job is paying. We don't like to talk about how much our debt is. Money is a funny category. It's not typically one that comes up in conversation when you're going out to dinner with your friends, unless you're like, I don't have any money. That is a typical conversation. But what doesn't usually get talked about is like how much money we're making and what our investments look like. And truth be told, like, I wish I had started investing years ago. I wish I had started budgeting years ago. I wish my friends were talking about that at that point. But we can always move up, right? We can always level up, and we can always start the conversations. Why not be the friend that starts the conversation about investments and budgeting? Like, not like, hey, Gwen, how much are you making? Right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just having the conversations, having it be a part of normal conversation. And so you can start that. So, okay. So the other reason why I think people don't budget is because money is wrapped up in a status symbol. We get competitive about money. It's a source of stress. It causes stress on people in general, but it also causes stress in relationships. Like, a lot of fights happen over money. And that makes sense. If 80% of Americans are in debt, can you imagine how much that is a pull on a relationship at home? So here's how to make budgeting really simple. Literally, 3 months of your life is all you need. 3 months of income and 3 months of expenses. Now, I understand that different areas of life are going to be different as far as expenses go. Like, for example, in the winter, we spend a lot more on like wood and oil than we do in the summer. So you're going to have to do this a couple of times to figure out 3 months of your life and go through your bank statement and literally look at every single piece of income that you had come in, write it down. Every single expense that you had, categorize them and write them down. And then I want you to look at what's hopefully left over. And sometimes there is no leftover. That's okay, because you are where you are. You're starting now. You're looking at what we call the green gap in between the income and the expenses. And this is what allowed me to pay off $25,000 in debt in 5 months, right? January to June, in 5 months. You have to look at that gap between your income and your expenses. If there is no gap, you need to get rid of some of your expenses. And I guarantee you can go back into your bank account and find things that you paid for that were completely and totally unnecessary. If you have no green gap, there should be no dinners out, right? There should be no extra purchases, toys, clothing, like, unless it's an absolute necessary need. If you have a red gap, meaning there's no space between your income and your expenses, there shouldn't be any extra expenses in there. And so you're going to have to get really real with yourself, right? Like, really real with yourself and decide, what is an extra expense? Do I need my iced coffee in the morning? Is it life or death if you have not a lot of room? Or if you have a lot of debt and you want to start paying it down faster, you like had it, you're putting your hand out on the table and you're done with debt. You are all done with debt and you want to pay it off because you want financial freedom. Well, then you're going to need to cut some stuff out of your life that maybe you don't want to cut out of your life, but for a short period of time. I think it helps you realize how much extra expenses we have during the week, right? So look at your gap between your income and your expenses and get rid of the crap that you don't use, the subscriptions that are not there, the gym memberships that you're not using. Like, if you're not using them, you're not using them. Can you sell some things? Do you have extra things at home that you can sell? One of the greatest things we ever did when we downsized was sell a bunch of stuff. And I'll tell you what, it retrains your brain to think, like, I don't need to have all this stuff just because I have the space to hold it. I don't need to fill it with stuff, right? So do that. Find the extra expenses, sell some things, figure out how you can maximize that green gap. And I'll tell you what, all you have to do is budget monthly. right? And then there are free apps all over the place that help you look at and track your expenses. So you don't even have to log them. Most of them will connect to your bank account. You might have to pay a small fee. I think it's worth it to connect to your bank account, have your expenses categorized, and then at the end of the month or weekly, you can look and go, oh, okay, we spent $500 going out to eat. Got to nix that, right? Depending on where you are, and everyone's situation is different. So if 80% of Americans are in debt and only 5% of Americans are setting a budget, there is no question as to why our stress is high and our relationships are stressed. And there's a lot of marriage troubles, like 53% of marriages end in divorce. There's no question. So if we could just get a handle on these small things, we would be 10 times ahead of the game. If you need help, right? If you're like, I want more information about how to get my green gap going, how to invest with the extra money that I have so I can set myself up for the future. If you want more help with that, I would love to help you in the Green Gap program. It's what I did when I needed help because I'd done Dave Ramsey twice and it wasn't working for me. I needed something else. So if you need that extra boost, if you need that extra help, jump on into Inspired and Ready for More. I'll leave the link to the group. You can see and access more information about the Green Gap program. And then that can set you on your path to paying down a ton of debt if you have it, and really getting clear on your budget, decreasing the stress in your life, having better relationships, right? Having more fun, because I'll teach you how to save money for fun while you're paying down your debt and while you're also investing for the future. I don't know about you, but that feels glorious. And it feels way better than just the budget word that everyone talks about before, but then leaves you with like, yeah, create a budget. And you're like, great, what do I do with it? Green Gap will help you. All right, you guys, Wealth Wednesday, do something nice for somebody today. Maybe pay for the coffee and the guy behind you in line if you have the extra money for it. Maybe leave $5 in a diaper box in the Target store and a little note that says you're awesome. Do something nice, something unexpected that would, if you were the recipient, would totally make your day. All right, you guys, I will catch you later.